Smart English Podcast.
Let's talk about everything.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Smart English Podcast. And we are so happy and excited that you are here with us today, because in this episode, we're going to talk about my favorite movies, and we will share why we love certain films, how movies make us feel, and how you can describe your favorite movie confidently in English.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. And if this is your first time listening to our podcast, we are very glad that you found us because our goal is to help you improve your English step by step in a natural and relaxed way, just like listening to two friends having a real and honest conversation.
My name is Jessica, and I personally love talking about movies because films are something almost everyone enjoys, and they are such an easy and interesting topic to discuss in English conversations.
And I am Brian, and I agree completely, because when someone asks you about your favorite movie, it becomes a great opportunity to express your opinions, describe stories, and talk about emotions.
So today, we're going to share some of our favorite movies and explain why they're special to us. And while you listen, try to think about your own favorite film and how you would describe it.
Yes, and do not worry about using complicated vocabulary because simple and clear English is always more powerful than difficult words that you are not comfortable with.
I have to admit that choosing just one favorite movie is very difficult for me because I enjoy so many different types of films, from romantic stories to action adventures, and sometimes I even change my favorite depending on my mood.
I completely understand that because every time someone asks me about my favorite movie, I pause for a long time and say, "That is such a hard question," and then I start listing 5 different films instead of one.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes I say one movie today, and then tomorrow I remember another amazing film and think, oh no, maybe that one is actually my favorite.
But if I really think about it carefully, there is one movie that always stays in my heart because it inspired me deeply and changed the way I see certain situations in life.
That sounds meaningful, and I believe that the best movies are not only entertaining, but also leave a strong emotional message that stays with us for many years.
My favorite movie tells the story of a person who faces many challenges but refuses to give up. And throughout the story, we see growth, courage, and determination, which makes it very motivating.
I really love movies with strong character development because when we see someone grow and improve, it reminds us that we can also improve in our own lives.
And of course, there are also funny moments in the movie that make the audience laugh because I cannot enjoy a film that is serious all the time without any light scenes.
Yes, I agree completely, because if a movie makes me laugh and cry at the same time, I feel like it gives me a full emotional experience.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when the main character fails at first, but then decides to try again instead of giving up, because that moment feels very real and relatable.
I think everyone has experienced failure at some point, and watching characters overcome difficulties can give us hope and encouragement.
And I also have to say that the soundtrack of the movie is amazing, because sometimes I still listen to the background music while working or relaxing.
That is such a true sign that you really love a movie, because when you start listening to its music even outside the cinema, it means the story touched you deeply.
What about you, Jessica? Do you have one movie that you would call your all-time favorite?
Well, like I said earlier, it is very difficult for me to choose just one, but there is one film that I have watched many times, and even though I already know the story, I still feel excited every time I watch it.
That is interesting because rewatching a movie many times means it gives you comfort in familiarity, almost like meeting an old friend again.
Yes, exactly. And that movie makes me feel relaxed and happy, especially after a stressful day, because I already know the ending and I can simply enjoy the journey without worrying about surprises.
Sometimes I also rewatch my favorite films when I don't want to think too much because it feels safe and comfortable to watch something familiar.
I think movies are powerful because they allow us to escape from reality for a short time, but at the same time, they can teach us important lessons about friendship, love, courage, and responsibility.
Yes, and for English learners, watching movies in English can also improve listening skills and help you learn natural expressions used in everyday conversations.
That is such a good point, because when you watch movies with subtitles at first and then slowly try without subtitles, you'll notice your listening ability improving step by step.
And sometimes you might even start copying the way characters speak, which can actually help your pronunciation.
Yes, but maybe don't copy dramatic action movie voices in real life, because that might sound a little strange.
That is true. We do not want our listeners speaking like superheroes in the office.
Cheerful and inviting. In the next part, we will talk more about different movie genres and why people prefer certain types of films, and we will share more personal stories about our cinema experiences.
Yes, because talking about movies is never boring, and there are so many fun memories connected to watching films with friends and family.
You know, Jessica, when we were talking about rewatching favorite movies, I suddenly remembered something funny because every time I say I will only watch one short scene, I somehow end up watching the entire movie without even realizing it.
That is so true because it always starts with, let me just watch my favorite part, and then 2 hours later, you were still sitting there with snacks in your hand and wondering where the time went.
And the worst part is when you have work to do, but the movie says just one more scene and you believe it like it is giving you good advice.
Yes, and sometimes the movie is more convincing than our own responsibilities, which is a little dangerous but also very funny.
I think comedy movies are especially powerful for that, because when something makes you laugh loudly, you forget about stress and problems for a while.
I completely agree because laughter is such a strong emotion. And when I watch a really good comedy movie, I sometimes laugh so much that my stomach actually hurts.
Yes, and sometimes I laugh even before the joke happens because I remember the funny scene from previous times I watched it.
That means you know the movie too well. And honestly, I do the same thing, especially when a character is about to say something silly and I already know what is coming next.
I remember once I watched a comedy film with my friends, and there was one scene where the main character tried to look very confident, but ended up falling in front of everyone, and the whole cinema started laughing at the same time.
Those are the best moments because when the whole audience laughs together, it feels like you're sharing happiness with strangers.
Yes, and I think that is one reason why watching movies in a cinema is different from watching at home, because the energy of the audience makes the experience more exciting.
That is true, but I also enjoy watching movies at home in comfortable clothes with a blanket, especially when it's raining outside and I can relax completely.
And let us be honest, at home you can pause the movie whenever you want, especially if you need more snacks, which is a very important reason.
Yes, snacks are extremely important, and sometimes I feel like choosing snacks is almost as serious as choosing the movie itself.
That is absolutely correct, because if the snacks are not good, the movie experience feels incomplete, and suddenly the film is not as enjoyable as it should be.
So, are you saying that the success of a movie depends on popcorn quality?
Maybe not completely, but it definitely helps a lot.
Curious and thoughtful. What do you think about action movies? Because some people love them for the excitement and fast scenes, while others prefer calm and emotional stories.
I enjoy action movies, especially when the scenes are intense and dramatic, but sometimes they can be a little unrealistic, and I find myself saying, there's no way that could happen in real life.
Yes, especially when the main character survives something impossible and then walks away like nothing happened.
Exactly, and after falling from a tall building, they only fix their hair and continue fighting like superheroes.
That is so accurate, and somehow we still accept it and continue watching without questioning too much.
But even with unrealistic scenes, action movies can be inspiring because they often show bravery and loyalty, and those themes are meaningful.
I agree, because at the heart of many movies, no matter the genre, there's always a message about friendship, love, courage, or hope.
I also think movies can bring people together because watching a film with family or friends creates shared memories that you can talk about for years.
Yes, I still remember watching certain movies with my family when I was younger, and even now we sometimes talk about those funny scenes and laugh again.
It's amazing how a 2-hour story can stay in our minds for such a long time and become part of our personal history.
And for our listeners, talking about your favorite movie in English is a great way to practice describing stories, explaining opinions, and expressing emotions naturally.
You can start by saying the name of the movie, then describe the main character, explain the story briefly, and finally say why you love it.
And if you can't choose just one favorite movie, don't worry, because we clearly have the same problem.
Yes, it's completely normal to have many favorites, especially if you love movies as much as we do.
Cheerful and inviting. In the next part, we can share more specific examples of our all-time favorite films, and maybe even describe one scene in detail so our listeners can practice storytelling in English.
Excited and friendly. That sounds great, because describing a movie scene is a powerful speaking exercise, and it can really improve vocabulary and confidence.
Okay, Brian, now I really want to describe one of my all-time favorite movies in detail, because I think when we describe a specific scene clearly, our listeners can learn how to tell a story naturally in English.
Yes, I love that idea, because storytelling is such an important skill, and movies give us the perfect structure with a beginning, middle, and ending.
So, one of my favorite movies is a heartwarming story about friendship and personal growth, and there is one scene where the main character feels completely lost and sits alone at night thinking about all the mistakes he made.
That already sounds emotional, because moments of loneliness in movies often feel very real and relatable.
In that scene, it is raining outside, and the city lights look blurry through the window, and you can see on his face that he feels disappointed in himself. But at the same time, he is slowly starting to understand what he needs to change.
I like how you describe the atmosphere, because when you mention the rain and the lights, it helps the listener imagine the scene clearly.
Thank you. And I think small details are very important in storytelling because they make the story feel alive instead of flat and boring.
Yes, because if you only say, he was sad, it sounds simple, but if you say, he was sitting alone at night while it was raining, suddenly it feels like a real movie scene.
Exactly. And that is why movies are so powerful, because they combine emotions, music, and visuals to create something unforgettable.
Let me share one of my favorite scenes too, because there's a moment in my favorite movie where the main character finally succeeds after many failures, and the background music becomes louder and more inspiring.
Oh, I love those victory scenes because they make you feel proud even though you are just watching someone else's success.
Yes, and sometimes I feel so emotional that I clap quietly in my living room like I am part of the movie.
That is so funny because I have done something similar, especially when a character finally says something brave that they were afraid to say before.
And then you sit there saying, yes, finally, as if the character can actually hear you.
Movies really make us emotionally involved, and sometimes we react as if the story is happening to someone we personally know.
That emotional connection is probably the reason why some movies stay with us for years, because we see parts of ourselves in the characters.
Do you think our favorite movies change as we grow older? Because I feel that the films I loved as a teenager are not always the same ones I love now.
I definitely think our tastes change over time, because when we gain more life experience, we start to appreciate deeper stories and more meaningful messages.
Yes, when I was younger, I mostly enjoyed movies that were exciting and funny, but now I also enjoy films that make me think about life and relationships.
So that shows how movies grow with us, because the same film can feel completely different depending on your age and experiences.
And sometimes when I rewatch a movie from my childhood, I realize that many jokes were actually for adults, and I did not understand them at all back then.
Yes, that happens to me too. And suddenly I think, how did I not notice that before?
Encouraging. For our listeners, if you want to practice speaking English, try describing one of your favorite movies in detail, including one emotional scene, because that will help you use descriptive vocabulary naturally.
You can talk about the setting, the character's feelings, the problem they face, and how the situation changes. And don't worry if your sentences aren't perfect, because communication is more important than perfection.
bright and friendly, and you can even practice by explaining a movie to a friend who has never seen it, because that will challenge you to speak clearly and confidently.
Playful and light, just be careful not to spoil the ending too quickly, because your friend might not be very happy about that.
Yes, spoilers can end friendships very quickly.
But sharing movie experiences can also create strong friendships, because talking about stories helps people connect emotionally.
Movies are more than just entertainment because they allow us to dream, to feel deeply, and sometimes even to understand ourselves better.
And that is why choosing a favorite movie is not always easy, because each film touches a different part of our heart and memory.
Brian, as we continue talking about favorite movies, I realize that sometimes the reason we love a film is not only the story itself, but also the time in our life when we first watched it.
That is very true, because a movie can remind us of a special moment, like watching it with friends during school holidays or with family on a quiet weekend night.
Yes, and sometimes when I re-watch a movie, it feels like I am traveling back in time to that exact moment, remembering how I felt and what I was thinking.
I think that emotional memory makes movies powerful because they become connected to our personal experiences instead of being just a simple story on a screen.
Do you ever watch a movie again after many years and suddenly understand the message in a completely new way?
Yes, that happens to me quite often because when I was younger, I focused more on the action and funny moments, but now I pay more attention to the characters' decisions and life lessons.
That shows how we grow as people, and it also shows how good movies can teach us something meaningful without feeling like a lecture.
Yes, because if a movie starts feeling like a school lesson, I might need extra popcorn to stay focused.
That is true, but luckily, many great movies teach important values in a natural and entertaining way.
For our listeners, you can practice English by explaining why a movie is important to you personally, not only by describing the story, but also by sharing your feelings and memories.
You can say things like, "This movie inspired me," or "This film helped me during a difficult time," because expressing emotions makes your English more powerful and natural.
And do not worry about using very advanced vocabulary, because simple and clear sentences can express deep emotions very effectively.
Yes, even saying, "This movie made me feel happy and hopeful," is strong and meaningful when you say it sincerely.
Movies have the ability to change our mood in just a few minutes because one funny scene can make us laugh and one emotional scene can make us think deeply.
That is why I believe watching movies in English is also a great way to improve listening skills, because you hear natural conversations, different accents, and real-life expressions.
You can even repeat some sentences from your favorite movie to practice pronunciation because copying natural speech patterns helps you sound more confident.
Just maybe avoid copying dramatic shouting scenes in public places, because people might get confused.
Yes, imagine standing in a supermarket and shouting a famous movie line very seriously.
That would definitely create a memorable moment, but maybe not the best one.
As we finish today's discussion about favorite movies, I feel grateful for how films bring joy, inspiration, and connection into our lives.
Yes, and we hope our listeners feel encouraged to talk about their own favorite movies in English, because every story you share helps you become more confident.
Try to watch a short scene this week and describe it out loud, even if you are alone, because practice is the key to improvement.
And remember that learning English should be enjoyable, just like watching a good movie. So relax, have fun, and do not be afraid to make mistakes.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today and sharing this conversation about movies and memories.
We truly enjoy talking with you, and we are excited to continue improving English together in our next episode.
Until next time, keep watching, keep learning, and keep speaking with confidence.
See you in the next episode of Smart English Podcast.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more English learning videos. See you in the next episode.